Fellas, Agent 6 Fitness, teaching hardworking Kiwi dads to ditch the gym. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the overhead press with the kettlebell. This is going to lead into also the jerk, push press, some of my favorite movements. So stay tuned. Alright, gents, first thing we need to address is the placement of our feet during the press. So we're going to be looking at glutes and roots, as they say. The placement of the feet on the press are usually shoulder width to a little bit wider, and the thing you need to do is imagine that your feet are screwing themselves into the ground, maintaining nice tight contact with the ground, toes digging into the earth. This is why a lot of guys prefer to press in minimalist shoes or even barefoot. It's one of the best things you can do just to enhance that understanding of connectivity with the ground, what boxers refer to as kinetic linking. Working our way up from the feet, we come to the knees, maintaining a slight bend in our knees and finishing off the lower body with a good tight backside to protect that lower back. Next, we want to maintain tension in our midsection. Now, this isn't to the point where you're giving yourself a headache. This is simply to the point of creating a nice safe wall of muscle from behind which you can do your breathing. If you do have a tension leakage in that area, your body will let you know, especially if you're working with something heavy overhead. That could result in an injury. So being conscientious from your toes all the way up to your chest, not having any of those tension leaks is going to keep you safe. Next, we come to our shoulders, and maintaining safety of our shoulders when working overhead goes without saying, extremely important. So preserving your rotator cuff and creating that tension all the way around up into your thoracic spine, that's done by packing our shoulders, or what we commonly would refer to as a reverse shrug. So when we're working overhead, we're actually driving our shoulders down. Seems kind of counterintuitive, but what we're doing is we are engaging our lats. This is the largest muscle in our upper body. And if you don't know what it feels like to have those muscles light up, simply hold your hand out to the side with your thumb down. Point your thumb to the opposite direction of your body, behind your body. So you get a bit of a flex, you can lean into it, but really work that. You're gonna feel that muscle light up. That's what you're looking for when you're working overhead. Now, it doesn't come easily to a lot of us. It's something that you're gonna have to feel out with practice, but that's gonna keep you safe. Again, not only preserving the rotator cuff, but maintaining that tension all the way up from the lumbar into the thoracic spine. When you're working overhead, that's key. All right, let's discuss briefly the rack position. Now, in the rack position, one of the things that we can do to make things easy on our wrist, you always want to maintain a straight wrist. Some people have a tendency to lag when they're pressing the kettlebell. That's going to put you in a vulnerable position. So make sure that that wrist is straight. To make that easy on yourself, you can turn the handle of the kettlebell like this, so that way our thumb is up around the corner of the horn. Now, when we are in the rack position, our elbow is nice and tight to our rib cage. We have a good grip on the kettlebell, our thumb hooked around, and our thumb, if we open our hand, will actually be facing our collarbone. Nice solid rack. You should be able to breathe, even if you've got some heavy weight, because remember, we're packing that shoulder, driving it down, preparing for the press. And when the press comes, I want you to think about pushing the outside of your forearm against the mass of the bell. It's a great cue to use when we're working overhead. Looks just like this. Breathing, I can still talk, but I've got a good wall of tension as a platform. Now, when we're working overhead, we also have a tendency to want to shrug up. We have the tendency to want to put that collarbone at an angle. But again, this is a vulnerable position for us. So make sure you're driving down while we raise the bell overhead, opening up that hand, coming right back into the position. You're going to find a groove, a natural groove that works for you. As long as you maintain that and you hit it regularly, that muscle memory is also going to help keep you safe. All right, let's talk briefly about how to increase the weight that we are pressing. Or if you're just trying to squeak out those last couple of reps, maybe your set is more geared towards hypertrophy or strength. I tend to use my 24 and my 32 for those sorts of activities. But one of the things that you need to be conscientious of is really crushing that handle. That's going to get you those extra reps. And also, your non-working arm needs to have a bit of tension in it as well. So you'll probably be making a fist, holding it down at your side, maintaining that balance, packing both of your shoulders evenly as we press and drive. And again, we're packing our shoulders evenly, driving them down and into their sockets. I had a question from one of my students who wanted to know what's the difference between a press, a push press, and a jerk. Pretty simple really. With the press, your knees don't move much. They have a slight bend in them, of course, but really the concentration is on the shoulder, the tricep, just driving up straight above our head and returning. Now with a jerk, just like you see in the Olympics, the jerk involves what they call a double knee bend. So as you bend down and launch the bell up above your head, you bend your knees again to get underneath it. So you pump, drop under, and then you're up. Now with a push press is just like the press, but it's a little bit of a cheat. It involves your knees a little bit, so you'll cock down and you'll come up and press in one motion. So more of a full body move. Some call it cheating, but great move nonetheless. Let's be honest, working overhead isn't just for aesthetics. In fact, I think it's probably more relevant to most of the sports that we play than the bench press. Working overhead is what's going to allow you to maintain that structural integrity in your shoulders and your upper body when your buddies tell you to get your boots out of the car and have a run on Saturday. You put those tackles in, your shoulder's going to stay intact.